Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity, and I hope everyone had an absolutely awesome weekend. Right, I am up today to do a little project with one of the hauls that I got last week, and also to share a personal haul at the end of doing this, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that personal haul as well. Right, so you're currently looking at a sheet of paper printed from Snap Click Supply, and that is basic grey herbs and honey, and that's what I've used in some of the elements. I have already made some of the elements, but we're going to be using these, and that's a kind of 6-month almanac, and I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to be using this to show you how I intend to use my new haul. So I'll just move those out of the way, because down here this strawberry paper is also herbs and honey, and I did the little box, if you remember last week, and I've already squished the corner because I plunged it down. Last week I showed you how to use a box to make a foamless shaker, and I did say I'd come back and do the box. You can see it's got the little thumb notches there. There we go, and also on the other side it is a beautiful box, and now that I've done it I can measure it and it does fit perfectly, as you can see, and you've got a little bit of height there so that your lid isn't, you know, squishing on the bottom. But as I said, basic grey herbs and honey from Snap Click Supply. Don't forget their sale on Wednesdays. Right, so this box now, once made up, this is the gorgeous one that comes with all of those labels. That is 2 3/4 inches by 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 3/8. Yeah, 4 and 3/8. So just really lovely. I mean, you can put a gift card in there. My intention for it is to put some wildflower seeds in there and gift it. So that's what I'm going to do with this box once I've completed it. But you saw the dandelion die that I showed last week, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I can see me using this in so many different ways, switching out the leaves and, you know, having it as a zinnia or a little chrysanthemum or even a sunflower once you start darkening the center. But I just love it. I love the details in it. And my idea for this is that I'm going to make a sort of, you know, attractive main feature on the box lid, because the biggest leaf does fit on there, which is nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to use both large leaves, but I think I'm going to use both of these because I do love working in odd numbers. So I think they're going to go on there somewhere. And of course I've got to have my flower, and I have cut 3 of the small alpine strawberry, which is why I use the strawberry paper. I was looking for something to tie in, and I'm going to colour these, and I'm going to use my Tombow watercolour markers and a watercolour brush to do that. So it might just be that I'm only going to use one of the leaves there, but I want 3 berries, and I may want 1 or 3 flowers. I'm not entirely sure. And I also want to do the paper clip so that I can pop those onto the little seed packets that I'm going to put inside. Now I've cut 2 of each because I always think that if you're going to use something as a clip, you want it to be fairly sturdy, and you know, if you make it really nice and it's still flimsy, it's not going to last you very long, and that's a shame. But what I want to do is I want to keep the love in there. I want to keep the eye in the bird, and I want to keep the windows in. So all I'm going to do on my base layer is just poke out the sections that would be the clip and keep that hole, so that when I glue my top layer on, all those bits are going to remain. Same with the birdie here. I'm just going to, you have to excuse my throat, it's been really croaky for a couple of weeks, and then I want to keep the love in, so I'm going to just poke out that bit. And I have used my watercolour cardstock here, which is from Walmart. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to have a base for which to I mean, I will poke these out as well, and I will poke out the top layer, so it's going to be like the white showing through. So the first thing that I need to do here, and for it to dry, is to get my Dollar Tree glue. And of course, if I was organised, it wouldn't be the other side of the table. So I want these letters to be fixed in. So very, very small amount of glue. And I'm just going to, with a clean finger, smear that, and those will be fixed inside. The same with the tiny little windows. And there's 4 of them there. And I'm just rubbing it down into the gaps, and I will leave that to dry. I've got enough on my finger here to I think do the birdie's eye, but I'll put just a little drop there just in case. Right, that's going to run down on the insides there and hold those pieces in place. So now that I know that those are going to be my bases, I'm just going to move those up out of the way, because of course you can't do this and use a wet or a glued surface when you're watercolouring, because otherwise it acts as a resist. Right, so now those are fixed in place, these are going to be the top parts that will get watercoloured, and what I'll do here is just take all of these pieces out. So what I'm going to do to save on time on the upload is I'm going to poke them all out, and I'll come right back. Okay, I've done that, and I'm going to do my red first, and I'm going to use some of my Tombow markers, and I'm using the colour 533, 993, 158, 755 and 133. So I'm going with the red, so we'll get this out of the way. I have got some water here. I'll just pop my box up, just a small tumbler of water, and you can see how close my camera is, can't you? And I've got some kitchen paper in case I need to wipe anything off. And where is it? I've got a little water brush, so I'm just going to stick that in there because I've probably had green on it previously, so it'll just give it a chance to soak. And it's just a cheap little paintbrush that you can get. I think they come in a set of 5 or 6 from Dollar Tree, so they're not super expensive brushes. So going in here with this one, you can see this is a kind of cherry sort of pinky red, which I quite like, and it's very similar to the colour of an alpine strawberry. Now, you don't always have to saturate everything that you're doing, because you can just put colour down and then start squooshing it around to get your desired effect. It depends how dark or how light you want to be. I mean, the further you push out there, the more pink it is going to be. And I quite like that two-tone effect. So, but with this Walmart watercolour paper, you can actually work it a little bit before you get a huge amount of pilling on the paper, you know, and it gets all fluffy. So I quite like that. I quite like that it's stained one colour to the other. But with my strawberries, I want them solid, so I'm just going to use my brush and just colour them in completely, remembering to touch the edges so that you're not leaving anything white. So I'll just carry on doing this and I'll come straight back. Right, so I've completed my red and my red going into pink, and now I'm going to do my green bits, and it's these 2 shades of green that I want to use, but I want to use this one just on its own to do the top part of the strawberry, and I'm going to use both colours to do the leaves. So I'm going to start with my palest green, and I'm just going to put that down all over on this strawberry leaf. This is a kind of, it's a strange colour, sort of chartreusey limey. It is a lovely colour. It reminds me of summer. And then I want to put the darker shade in. Now, I must tell you, when I'm colouring with my Tombows, I'm not using a lot of pressure. It might look like it, but I'm not. I'm kind of just tickling the surface of the paper. because I don't ever really want to destroy the nibs. I mean, the nibs are very good. I think they're Japanese nibs. But, you know, excessive scrubbing and squashing, I don't really want to do. Right, so I've got my pale shade down there. And now my darker shade, I want to go onto the edges. So I'm just going to tickle along there. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my water brush, just bash it on the side there so it's not over wet. And I'm going to move that colour around just to darken up the edges and then let it bleed into those gaps. I will pick all these up after and show you. And I don't want my leaves to be, you know, kind of all the same colour and all the same way. So on this one, you know, maybe a little bit of a thicker border. Because even though nature can be perfect, it's not always exact. And I've still got some water on here. So I'm going to go in and push that around. And make this one a little bit darker. Push it into the veins of the leaves. And then on this one here, I'm going to go much, much darker, doing a much bigger border, and then just a smaller bit there and maybe a big bit there. I'm going to use a little bit more water and just squish my brush on the side of the pot there and pull that colour in. I know I'm going quiet. I always go quiet when I'm having fun. So I've got like 2 Tony leaves, and you can bring your brush back down as well if you've got a little bit of extra on there, you know, because I don't really want to waste it. There we go. Now I'm quite happy with that. Now for my holes, I'm using just the darker pen. I think they're called holes. I had this conversation last week. I haven't got a clue what the top part of a strawberry is called. So if anybody knows, do let me know. Right, you can see that one is dark. So I'm going to do the other 2 and come back. Right, so I did that, and these are the holes of the strawberries, I'm going to call them, and they can go up there because the strawberries will, you know, go on here. Whether you pop them kind of, whoops, underneath a little bit like that, that's entirely up to you. And there is tiny little holes, so you could thread twine or wire into them. So that's basically the strawberries. And because of the shape, I know that they're alpine strawberries. So those little elements are done, and I'll show you a close-up of the leaf. So that's the colouring in the strawberry leaf, which of course is going to go on top of the box. I'm not going to use the other 2, but I will put those back in the pack with the dies. Now for the house and for the bird, I want to use my yellow and my blue. So basically colouring in exactly the same as you've just seen me do that, and then I'll come straight back. Right, so that's done, and I've done the bird in blue, but I want that little bit of beak there, so I've got a little bit of fluff off one of the die cuts on the end of my brush, and I just want to use a little bit of yellow. So it's got a little yellow beak. Now right at the beginning what I showed was that I glued these into position, so they're not going to pop out, and the eye is also glued into position. Well, what I want to do here is I'm going to use the watercolor pen on that little window section and make those little windows that are going to show through, and do those in blue. So that's all that I'm doing, just a little tiny bit. It's just a little detail that I'm sure not many people would notice, but you know, I'm going to do it anyway. And I've got my black touch new marker here, which is this one, and I'm just going to touch the bird's eye because I poked the other one out and that one is going to show through. So I've just coloured that little element in there, and of course anything that's scribbled outside of the lines is going to be hidden. And I'm kind of looking at this and I'm wondering, do I want a different colour there? And I think I might actually do that in a much stronger red, where I used water on the heart, which kind of bled it to red and pink. And I'm just going to go in with Neat Tombow, which is going to make that a lot darker than the rest of it when it goes down. So that's what I've decided to do. Now I'm going to let these dry for a minute and I'll come straight back. Okay, so I've moved everything out of the way that I don't need to use now, and I need to stick my tops to my bases. So I'll do the bird first, and as always, Dollar Tree glue in my AliExpress needle tip bottle, and I'm going to apply the glue to the top section. I don't need to get, you know, too close to the edges. And then a little bit under there. I always end up sticking loads of glue onto my fingers, and just making sure that there's enough to do what I need to do, if you know what I mean. Now, you know me, and I can't see where things are, so I just have to briefly tip stuff towards me so that I know that I've got it on straight. And so that is our first little page clip, paper clip, whatever it is you want to call it. And I hope that you can see the little black eye from the base showing through. So it was really, really easy. And if you've got your 1.5mm flat backs, you can use one of those instead if you want it to have a lot of dimension. But I'll use this leaf that I'm not going to use, and let's clip our birdie on. So you can have it hanging on with the wing, or you can tuck the wing behind and have it hanging on with a little body. So that's the kind of thing that, you know, you're going to have at the top of your page, or if you want to stick it on a leaf, absolutely, you know, go ahead and do it. You should be allowed to do whatever you want when you're creating. So just really, really cute. So that's the little birdie one, and that's how we glue those down. I'm just going to glue the heart and the house, and I'll come straight back. Right, so all that done, and I've also glued my tiny little alpine strawberries down to their leafy top bits that I've been calling holes. Now, a strawberry flower is white and the centre is yellow, and that's not going to be a big problem for me. This is a big piece, really. I can pick this up and I can dot some glue onto it. Now, the centre of it is loose, so that means my flower needs to go down in an area where I'm going to be able to get that down. So I'm going to go there, almost smack bang in the middle of those leaves. And then I'm just going to put a tiny little dot of glue in there and use my pickup tool and get the little yellow centre and just pop it in. Now, I may not be straight, but that doesn't bother me. So we've got that, and now I want to cluster my little alpine strawberries around the base of that, so basically turning it into one large embellishment. So I'm going to go either side there with a dot of glue. I'm going to pick up my alpine strawberry and decide the configuration of those. I think I might want to go a little bit skew-if on that one. And then I think I'm going to take this one and partially cover that flower. So I'll put my dot of glue there, and then I'm going to pick this one up and just lay it over the top. So we've got 3 berries and a little bit of flower. Well, quite a lot of flower. I just covered it up a slight amount. But I can do a little close-up of these bits now. and I'm hoping they're not blurred. So by colouring the base in, I've got my little blue windows, I've got the little black eye, and then I've got the deeper reddy pink underneath, so that all of that becomes a lot more apparent. Now, I'm sure that that's not dry yet, but I'll do you a close-up on that. Hopefully it's going to get close. There we go. You can see my little starry piece is a little bit off, but you know, when you're watercolouring, you're putting stuff like this together, I think those little imperfections are kind of what makes it. It makes it sweet, if you know what I mean. Now, I've got my extra leaf here, which may go in the box, I'm not sure. But the whole thing now needs to be put together. So I kind of, you know, wanted 3 bits of green up here. And I know that the leaves fit. I know that I want to get my flower in there. And there you go. There's a good example of me messing around before stuff is dry. So I'm just going to squish that down, so that I'm getting a better bond. Yeah. And that piece, I know that I want to go up there. So what I'm going to do, is I'm going to allow these bits to continue drying. I'm going to stick those down, and then I'm going to come back and show you my new haul. Right, and so here is the completed little seed box. Not everything is completely dry. I'm sure that flower would fall off if I played with it. But the lid, it still works. You can see that. Nothing is in the way of lifting the lid. I've left these little tips sticking up in the air because I just thought that that would be a little bit more realistic. And I just absolutely love that. I mean, if you get the chance to buy the Honey and Herbs kit from Basic Grey from Snap Click Supply, you get hundreds of items in the kit, you know, everything from papers to icons that you can use on your scan and cut, or you can cut out, fussy cut them by hand. But I've also done the little paper clips there, which are going to look really sweet with what I'm about to show you now. Right, so my new haul. First thing is a punch, and this punch does the mushroom holes. Now, I can't remember how much this was. It might have been $10. This is from AliExpress. It does the mushroom holes for the rings that you use for binding, and it comes with a measurer. It can be left or right-handed, so that's always useful to know. I'm right-handed, and it slots into this hole here. So you just grab that, she says, there you go, and it clips in. And this little bar here, I'm hoping it's going to show it. There you go. You've got a little bar there that you line your paper up to. There, that's better. So the first hole that you cut, you'll slide along and fit your hole over that, and then cut, and then slide along, fitting your hole. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So I treated myself to that. I treated myself to some long bar sequins, because you can see they've got a hole, and my intention was to either stick 2 together using some red line tape, which is very strong, or just punch a hole myself. And what I'll end up with, once I've used some elastic, is like a little tab for when I'm doing journals. So that, imagine you've got elastic coming off there, and that's just bent around your book kind of thing. And I was also thinking, because it's Mylar, that I could run it through one of my old Dynamo, is it Dynamo or Dymo machines, and punch letters into it, and then I can use a little brad. So that's something that I'm going to go away and try, and if I'm successful with it, then I will come back and show you the letters that I managed to punch onto it. So I got myself those for that reason, and I think it's either 100 or 200s that I got for a couple of bucks. So I thought they would be great for labelling and doing you know, basically all kinds of different stuff with. And then to go with this punch, just leaning across the table, I got myself these, which are a pastel pink, and these are like your standard size binder discs, but I thought they were pretty. Pastel pink with hearts, you can't go wrong, so I got those. And then I got myself a box of these because the intention of this really wasn't to do full-size binding, but to be able to bind small die cuts and make tiny little books, which is why I got these. Now you can see the size of these rings, and they are 18mm. I don't know if they go any smaller. If they go smaller, I'm going to buy some anyway, because if you like to make mini books and, you know, not be fussed with doing all your page binding and things, then these are just going to be absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do with this sheet of basic grey that I've got here, I'm going to run away, I'm going to die cut some, I'm going to punch and show you how to do it and use some of the smaller rings. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I ran away and I cut 2 3x4 pieces of paper, and what I want to do is punch them. So I'm just going to stick them both together because I'm pretty sure that this punch will take 2 sheets at a time, and I'm going to slide it in and line it up with that line there. I hope that I can show you that. It fits directly at that line, and I'm just going to punch. Can you see? We've now got our mushroom punch. My paper is still lined up, and then that little slit that I showed you is now in the middle of that mushroom, and I'm going to punch. Put that slit right through the middle of that mushroom again, line it up and punch. So I've got 3 holes now. Imagine I've got lots and lots of pages and I'm making myself a little book, or I've done lots of ATCs and I want to make a little book. And you're just going to take your little rings, which are not huge. You're just going to pop them through. Whoops. I mean, you can quite literally mushroom hole anything and create anything, or your colour swatching, whatever it is you want to do. So now I've got just a really sweet beginning of a little book. I can put all different colours of pages and stuff in here. And this almanac paper from the Herbs and Honey collection, I can cut those pages down. They've got the dates on them, look. And they could go into there as well. So yeah, that is what I treated myself to. So I've got my punch, I've got my disc rings. That just pulls out again afterwards. Just hold it firmly and pull it so that you can store your stuff flat and together. I've got my pink discs, I've got my lovely sequins, which I'm going to try and emboss, and these, which is great because they come in a really cute little box, and if I can get smaller ones, then that's exactly what I intend to do. But if we take one of these clips here and stick it to the top of our page, there we go. Got a little birdie up there. Maybe I can stick my house on as well. Whoops. Get that in. There. Got my little house up there. Got my birdie. I'm going to put my heart over here. There. And that's what I have got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed that. I mean, I am seriously in love with these dies. Somewhere around here is my pouch because I'm just collecting them like mad. Hang on. Here we go. Fully loaded pouch. You can see how many are in there, and they're all kind of the same ilk. So all of those are just kept together. I love them, and there's just little bits and elements to use over and over again. And from the box side, you can see I still haven't used all of those gorgeous tags and things yet. So all of that will be coming up when my next shipment of similar dies arrives. But what have I got for you tomorrow? I'm up with Eiffel Store. Yeah, Eiffel Store Design Team Haul. Right, I thank you so much for watching, and as usual, all links below. Bye.